Welcome back to part 2 with Dr. Davena Longshore with the Cummings Foundation for Behavioral Health. I'm excited for this episode. We're going to talk about biases and how we all have them. Doesn't matter your gender, your age, your religion, your political affiliation, your skin color. And we're going to talk about how we can all come together to make our world a better place. We actually recorded this on Juneteenth, even though you all are listening to it for the first time in July. These conversations are something that can be good for everyone. Everyone is invited to this table. Welcome, and let's get started. I want to just put a short call to action, because if you'd like to see programs in your area, in your precinct, with your police officers, you can email you about that. And also, if you want to donate towards this, because this is a thing that brings a lot of healing and health and safety to the community and to the country, you can also donate which is Cummings, Cumming, and S on the end of it, and then CFBH.org, Cummings Foundation for Behavioral Health.org. So I just wanted to throw that in there in case someone's listening. That's the way to do it. So tell me, how does physical health play into behavioral health? Because behavioral health is maybe a word people aren't as familiar with, but my understanding is kind of a mix between mental and physical.
So yes, the mental, the mind and the body are connected to each other. So your emotions, that you experience throughout the day, I'll just use this as an example. They cause you to produce certain hormones. Your brain produces those hormones. We know from a basic biology class that the brain is the powerhouse of the body, right? It is making sure that every organ system is running. So if the brain is malfunctioning and not producing the chemical signals that it needs to produce for your other organ systems to run properly, then it will cause health issues. So things like depression are linked to heart attack, stroke, cancer, metabolic diseases, diabetes. And people don't realize it because we've been taught, go get a physical exam, or even, and that's even not even to be proactive. Our society's a little, we act after the fact. Like, let me go get an exam because my stomach hurts, instead of being preventative. But taking care of your mind, your emotions, and the impact that they have on the brain is also preventative, because you can work out all the time. You can be a bodybuilder. You can eat vegan or vegetarian. But if you're hurting emotionally, you will still get physically ill.
Yeah. Yes. And I've had some guests on the show that their episodes are coming out in the next couple of weeks. And as an example, both of them talked about breath work, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them yoga too. So, and those are things I think you've talked about in terms of like helping people regulate.
Yes.
Incorporating those also. So kind of the whole gamut. I know the stuff you're coming up with, it's not myopic. It feels like you're covering all the bases.
Yes. So what I can say about my model is it's based on some of our basic psychological tenets of what humans need to survive and to be happy. And so in those models, things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they explain that humans need things emotionally and physically to be happy, to thrive, to do their best in life. So you need to feel like you belong. You need to have food. You need to have shelter. You need to have security. You need to have interactions with others. Humans are social beings. We need each other, which also is not a huge thing that's popular right now, right? Everything's about, I can do it myself.
Right.
Not really. Not really. We're not designed that way. We're social beings, so we need each other. So the model I created is built off of all the things that psychology has found out years ago that humans need to thrive in life. And then what I did was I looked at those and looked at their connections between mental disorder. And they're all connected to depression, anxiety, personality disorders, schizophrenia. They're all connected. So I looked at the connections and I designed a program that's preventative. It offers interventions that feed those areas of you that are in need, so you never get to the place of depression or anxiety or a psychotic disorder. And yes, believe me, genetics plays a role, but we know that human behavior is so complex, and it's a complex interplay between our genetics and our physical environment. And so what I do is what I can do. I can't determine who you were born from, but we can look at your environment, the behaviors, the things that you're getting and that you're not getting. And we can play with those things and maneuver those things so that you don't set off that gene in your family that's linked to depression.
Yeah. That's so powerful. So what's next for the Cummings Foundation for Behavioral Health and for you, Dr. Longshore? What is kind of like the next steps of what you're looking to do with the work you're doing?
So with this particular project, the next steps is we're looking at expanding to several different agencies. So that is the hope for next year. What we do on the back end is we do test this model. We test the program to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, to see if we do need to tweak it in some way. So we'll be expanding to other agencies next year. Another thing we'll be doing, because our desire at the Cummings Foundation is to use behavioral health to positively change the community at large. So we're not just focused on police officers, even though that's our first main project. We want to help the community. And I know, and people in my field know from history, when it comes to social change, psychologists have always been at the cusp of it. Their research has always been at the cusp of social change. And so my desire is to put psychologists back in their rightful place and let the experts of behavior help lead the community when it comes to social issues and inform politicians and policymakers of how what they're doing is impacting society and the community and what they can do to make it better. So one of our next projects is going to be dealing with intimate partner violence, which is a huge concern right now in the US. The numbers have escalated. You have many women dying at the hands of men. And researchers, the few researchers who are researching it, they have a call of action. They need more researchers to help them figure out why this is happening and what the solution is. And so the Cummings Foundation wants to participate in being a part of the solution.
Yeah, that is a very tough. That's a very tough one, and I feel like most of us have if we haven't experienced it ourselves, we know someone close to us who's experienced that.
Unfortunately.
And I think that's how the world is right now, and it's just got to stop. Like, it's just got to stop rolling downhill to the generations to come. I feel that very strongly. What can we do? We have to do something else to stop this.
I agree.
From being so commonplace. And I think it's been commonplace for a long time in some ways, but man, it's got to stop. There's got to be ways. So that's exciting to me that you're working on that also. Yeah.
Yes. I'm very excited to work on that. So
yeah. And I'm sure we could have an entire conversation around that topic, which we will do another time.
Yes. Yes. And there is the other one. We're actually working on that this year. We had a board member ask us a question: why hasn't there been a solution to the gun violence in America? And so my team and I, we did a major review, and we found that the solution's been given. That's not the problem. The problem is how Americans view guns. And so we're doing what we call like a meta-analysis or a scoping review, where we pull all this data in from all these researchers who've already answered this question. And then we look at that in American culture. And we're going to be tying the two together to show, hopefully, that the real issue is how Americans see weapons and how Americans see guns and how it's so entrenched in American culture. And then we're going to be looking at what are the solutions to that? What are the solutions to moving American culture from the ideals that cause them to not want to support laws that will change who has access to guns so that we can reduce the gun violence in America?
Yeah. These are just like, you're just diving in at the very, very deepest end of the pool. Right? It's like, let's see how many issues that are superheated and have been going on for a long time and we can't seem to resolve, and I'm gonna do what I can to do something about this. And the way you come at it is so you come at it, I think, with so much intelligence, research, experience, and compassion, and a level of understanding, I think, for everyone involved in the situation. And because you were even counseling the predators, so it's like those are the ones I want to have no understanding and no compassion for. But that it's people are we can be a crazy bunch.
People are hurting. And when I worked in the prison system, that's what I saw. I mean, it was sad how many of the inmates were the victim of sexual violence, the victim of physical violence at very young ages. They were orphans, they were poor and homeless.
Mm.
And so they became a victim of their circumstance. And at the root of it, I look at it as this: I was one decision in my life away from being them, because we had some of the same childhood experiences. The difference was the one decision that I made that was different from their decision. And so we're alike. We're not as different as we think that we are. And if society at large would begin to see that we are more alike than we are different, it would heal a lot of things in our community.
I think it probably would. And I also do think, and this is some of the things that I have noticed in general about people, is sometimes they refuse to feel, not on purpose, but like they want to detach because they're afraid it could happen to them. So it's easier to go, oh, you over there, I'm gonna put my hand, you over there, I'm gonna send you a little goodwill, but I don't want to emotionally engage at too much of a level, because it scares me too much that what you're experiencing is a thing that I could experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another, maybe that's a schema, I don't know what that is, but it seems like there is kind of that reaction where that scares me, and so I'm just going to say, so sorry, you'll get through it.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism. It's a mechanism that people use to deal with the horrors of the world. And it's not always beneficial, because it can cause you to not show empathy for others. I mean, one of the most impactful situations for me was when I resigned and I was walking through yards, and I had inmates that people call killers, collapsing to the ground in the middle of the yard, not in private, in front of other inmates, crying. I can't believe you're leaving us. You're the only person in my life who ever believed in me.
Oh,
They're We're all humans. And
oh,
I think that's one of the reasons too why I was able to have the impact that I had, because I understood that. I didn't treat them like I was better than them. I was different from them. We're humans, and the same needs that I have, you have too. It doesn't matter if we look alike. I've had white supremacists in the prison begin to only want me to treat them. And it was because I showed them we are alike, and we're more alike than we are different. And I know you feel like that idea and that belief was your protection in the world. I understand it. But you don't have to hate me because I'm here to help you. I'm not going to harm you.
yeah. It's such a position of power and compassion on your part to just, just be, I don't know. I'm crying through this whole thing. I am. You can see it. I'm like, you're making me cry. Uh, and I have over the years, and I'm a white person, grew up in all white community. There wasn't, I mean, there was racism, but you didn't know who it was because there weren't any black people or really people of any other race. So just a little town in the 80s in Iowa. And so you learn over time as our communities get more integrated. And it was something when I moved to the South, I was very much like I didn't know. And I think I didn't, I only know, was taught the history I was taught. I didn't even know to go look for other history. I
Right.
didn't. So, and I still don't know if I know what to go look for. Sometimes you read something and you're like, that's insane. Like I had no idea. Um, but I know when I moved to the South, and this is, in my mid 20s, I'm like, we gotta like do something to be integrated. It's way more black and white in the South, where it's more
Mhm.
than not necessarily 50-50, but ish. But we're more integrated there. And I it took a long time, I feel like, to find a situation where I felt like I was accepted. I think there was such stereotypes on maybe both ends, but like I didn't
Mhm.
know the questions to ask. I didn't know the things to say either. So, and this was actually a church and for a while. And so I think we're all showing up and just being polite and not knowing what to do. And then, I think that what really helped me develop, really starting to develop, and I'm saying all this for the sake of people who are white people who really don't, maybe they have a black friend, they know that there's this racism thing that's going on in America, and sometimes it really, pops out and grabs us like it did in 2020, and we're just, we don't know what to do. And we haven't even thought about it. We haven't thought about what we haven't thought about. We haven't known to ask the questions we know to ask. To think to ask, you don't even know what, because that history is far enough removed in our from some of us, not from all of us, but I think in the North we're not as or Midwest where I grew up, we're not as hands in the we're not as aware. Um, but we have a responsibility also. So if we don't know, if we're not integrated with people of other cultures, so we just have the bias that they're not going to vote the way we want them to, or they're going to take our resources, or they're going to do whatever it is. Those are biases, and your life is better when you learn outside your culture, when
Mhm.
you integrate with people who don't look like you. And I think it's not just black white, all the different cultures that can be here. You will learn things, and it will make your world better. It will make you more understanding human. But it's not just that. Like you're gonna find your people. You're gonna realize that there's people who don't look like you, who didn't grow up where you grew up, who don't think like you, who don't believe like you or vote like you or live where you are, the same age and you, or if you're a female, they might be male, or vice versa. Like you're gonna find people that support you, that love you, that have your back outside of where you think they're gonna be.
Right.
So if you will take the energy and the time, and it might really take, if you're as a white person in a largely white community, or if you're in a community that just kind of is together but separate, which and I moved from Atlanta and you've lived in Atlanta, and sometimes Atlanta is like that. We're together but we're separate. Usually you see groups of people and they're not necessarily racially mixed. So we have to, but it's awkward. And so that's one thing. I think it's awkward at first.
It is. Especially if you just don't say how you feel. And I mean, I know, living on the West Coast, people are a little more passive and chill, and they're not as deep. But, I'm from the Southeast, and I just say, let's have the conversation. Like, let's just get the awkwardness over. Let's say how we feel. Let's talk about it. And then we can work through it. And I think sometimes too, people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to just talk through it. There was a white male sergeant that I had to work with one of the other stations. And it was awkward for me at first. I mean, he was like, in the Black community, we would look at him and be like, classic go hunt a Black person. Like he drove a big truck. He loved big guns, and so one of the first things I said to him was that, like, you hunt Black people? And it was a joke. He like looked and he just burst into tears and laughing. And that's where the conversation started. And it was hilarious because people were kind of afraid to get in our conversation because we were just going back and forth with Black and white stereotypes. He's like, why do Black people like Cheesecake Factory? I'm like, white people don't season their food, and all the stereotypes he and I both learned about each other, we were throwing them out at each other, just getting it over with. And then talking about, well, where do you think the stereotype came from? Do you agree with it? We just had the uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. I do think also sometimes people are just bad at knowing how to get out there and meet people. I think there's also that in society. So it's not just like you just, and we gotta address that too, maybe, because we can't get to know each other if we're just bad at knowing how to talk to people. And I just think more people feel awkward about that than not. So, sometimes you just go compliment their hair, give them a compliment, just ask them a question about, you got your shirt on, say, that's interesting. Where does that come from? What's that all about? I don't know. Sports team. You gotta and if you're next to each other, ask them questions about, their work and where they grew up, and just start asking just throw out some questions. Just say some words.
Sometimes the simplest way to disarm people is just to look them in the eyes and smile.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can start a conversation. I mean, I blame social media for people's lack of communication skills these days. And then it was just compounded by COVID when people were separated from each other.
Yeah.
So people are definitely lacking in communication skills. And I've had people come to me just to be coached on that. Like, how do I talk to people? I'm not dating. I don't know how to introduce myself to people. I don't know how to start a conversation. I've had people come to me just for that. Like, can you help me and teach me how to do that?
Yeah. I almost feel like that makes me go, I feel like that's like a multiple episodes I could do, but it does feel like that, right? Like that's, I think, way before COVID people. I mean, I grew up with people that were bad. Most people that I know have not been great at that. I don't know. And I think it was something that is a skill I learned. I don't think I was great at it either for a long time. So anyway, that's ideas to, if you just don't talk to anyone, fine, go start by talking to someone who looks like you. And then after that, go talk to someone who doesn't look like you.
Yes. I've been since I went into the psychology field, I thank my program because they made us take classes um, that brought out our biases and they made us work through them. And so
Wow.
I've had a habit of always, because I know my biases, I intentionally go interact with the people that I have that bias against so that I can deconstruct it.
Yeah, that's I think that's the example that we should all follow. Just, whether we have a class on it or not, you don't even know sometimes you have a belief system until it's threatened or
Mm,
challenged, and
yes.
you have to question it and why you have it. So, well, today is Juneteenth when we are recording this, but we've talked some on race, and even though people will be not listening to it on this day, is there anything you want to say about the day and the significance of it?
No one is free until everyone is free. And no one can do their best until everyone has resources and everyone has the same rights and everyone is being treated the same way. And while we feel like we've come so far,
Hmm.
we still have so much further to go. There's so much inequity within a capitalistic system. And so I'm thankful today that I finally met people in the right places who did not see my race, did not see my gender, did not see my sexuality. They saw my skill
Yeah,
and my integrity and my heart. And
right.
they put me in a position where now I can help other people. And I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it. Where I hurt is knowing that many people won't get the opportunity that I got because they're Hispanic or Black or Asian or female or transgender or gay or lesbian. They won't get, or disabled, they
Hmm.
won't get the same opportunity because people look at them for those things, those outside things, instead of looking inside at who they really are.
Do you have any thoughts on merit-based? I know we talked to merit-based before, and how do we get there where it's just clearly the best person for the job or the best person for the you know gets it without seeing the stuff that might cause the bias?
I don't, the only way you're going to fix that is to fix the people.
Okay.
That's the only way you're going to fix that, is to fix the people. And it's sad because there's recent studies that show things, for example, that a white male felon is more likely to get a job than a black male who's never been arrested before. It's people lead with their biases, and the danger of it is people don't think they have biases. And it's because there's such a negative stereotype, and I feel like we throw the word racist around a little bit too much these days, and people are going to automatically throw up their guard because that word has such a negative connotation. And
Yeah.
so I've had conversations with people that I knew had negative biases against Black people, but when I use the word bias, they're more receptive than if I just say, "Hey, you're racist. Do you know that?"
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I a lack of education is always room for destruction. It's always the route to destruction. And so when you don't know yourself, when you don't know your beliefs truly, when you don't know who you are, when you don't know how you see the world, there's no way you can correct for your biases at all. And
Yeah.
the only way to fix that is for people to understand that they have biases and you have to be intentional about correcting for it. Me, I grew up in South Carolina, about 40 minutes away from the slave docks. My father helped integrate schools in South Carolina in 81. It was 81 when they were integrating schools. And when they integrated them, the wealthier whites created a private school in my town so they didn't have to go to school with us. And it left us with the poor whites. And so they zoned the middle to upper class blacks to go to school with the poor whites. So I had to pass schools to go to school because they were zoning to make sure poor whites only at least went to school with middle class to upper class blacks. So I grew up going to school, being called the N-word, white boys telling me they can't date me because I'm an N. I grew up with that stuff. I was interviewing and people thought my resume belonged to a male because it's science and math on it. And I would walk in an interview and they would ask me to multiply because they didn't believe a black woman knew mathematics. So I grew up very entrenched in you cannot trust white people. But I became aware of my bias. And so when I met a white person, I intentionally said, you need to give them a chance. They're all not bad. You have to understand your biases.
Yeah. And vice versa, white and black. And this conversation to me is such a good example of the way forward as humanity is to start talking to each other, to lay down our guard a little bit. And I think in politics, it's been so much where it's like all wrong, all wrong.
Right.
So, and that's just how I feel like the last 20 years has been more and more like, let's keep each other mad at each other.
Yes.
And that keeps us from having conversations where so many things could probably be resolved really simply if we were talking to each other and listening to each other and not just coming at each other with, you're so stupid, that's why you're so dumb, you're so, you're the, whatever, all the words that come out then, where we're calling each other names, and or we're just not going to listen because you're not doing what I want you to do. And I want you to do this because this is the way to do it. And even if you're right and it is the way to do it, is this person harming you?
Right.
Are you going to be harmed by listening?
Right.
Even if you know that they're wrong, and that's a whole nother thing. We have our strong beliefs. Is it really harming you to be kind to someone who isn't what you think they should be, who isn't doing what you think they should do? And let's be honest with ourselves. I do things that I don't think I should be doing. I don't agree with my own self. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all like that too. So we all do things we don't think we should really be doing. So give everyone a little grace. And just because one person and there's every demographic, no matter how you look at it, has people that are going to can be harmful people.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think every demographic has people that are good, that are going to do good to people, even if they're irritated about it or what, or have a bias, or they're still going to, in their nature, do good.
And this kind of goes back to what you were saying about different communities and how polarized they can be. So this black and white, very concrete thinking that you see, right or left, right? No in between. It comes from a lack of experiencing other cultures and people who are different from you, because that does something to the brain. When you're able to see differences in culture, understand that not everybody operates the same way that you do, you then can understand that two opposing things can both be the truth. An officer can be racist, but also have PTSD and a mental health challenge.
Right.
Two opposing views can both be true. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of now, that people don't understand that we can believe two different things and they both be accurate.
Right. That's true. And so much in politics, because I listen to both. In terms of like people talking of who are very strong beliefs on both sides. I tend to go, yeah, well, what you're talking about, I think everyone agrees with. What you're talking about, I think everyone agrees with. Because like you're talking about, maybe I want to be able to get a good job that I'm not going to be excluded from because of how I look, and everyone will go, well, yeah, you should. And the other side is like, this is about national security, and we can't be threatened by terrorism, all that stuff. And I'd be like, I think everyone agrees with that too. Like, so like it's just, you're looking at different things. So, and that's where the talking to each other, it's like, well, yeah, all these things are commonly agreed on.
Right.
So, and I know I thought once when I went through a contentious divorce, and I know you've had one, it's like, if that can get settled legally, in that kind of environment where you're like, there's no way to come to an agreement on this of any sort because we're so far apart, then what couldn't be agreed on?
Right.
So you act like all these issues in the country can't come to some kind of conclusion. Sure they can. They can. And what it takes is saying it has to come to an agreement, and then reasonable people at the table,
Right. And not the thought that in order for me to survive, I have to put another group down. I have to step on someone else in order for me to get my needs met. Everyone can get their needs met. There is a solution where we all can get our needs met, and we don't have to fight each other or harm each other to get that done.
And I think
that's what we need to be looking for.
And that's the only solution in my mind. I don't think there is any other solution.
Yes, I agree.
The only solution towards peace is one where everyone can have, the what they need to just have a peaceful life.
Right.
To have a peaceful, prosperous life without, the amount of work that you put in should be the reward you get back,
Yes.
If you don't want to go get a doctorate and 3 master's degrees, I mean, I don't. So, like there's going to be a different, maybe I do, maybe I'll change my mind, but you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously then who gets to have the seat at the table? The one who's done the work, the one who's done, the people who've done the work in the different areas should be the ones who have the seat at the table and the voice. So.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. So if you guys want to learn more, I'm going to say it one more time for the Cummings Foundation. It's CUMMINGS and then CFBH.org. And then you can just email info@cummingscfbh.org. And Dr. Longshore, any last words you'd like to share with everybody?
Go talk to someone today who doesn't look like you, talk like you, doesn't go to the same church as you, doesn't believe the same thing as you. That's where you can start to become a different and happier person. I
amen that. I've been saying that. See, people, I've been saying that forever. And now I have a doctor who said it. So. All right, Dr. Longshore, let's see your shirt. My ancestors would be proud. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Screenshot that. Oh, thank you so much. I so appreciate you so much as a human, and I'm just so thankful to have met you and have gotten to work with you. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. I am thankful to have met you, my newest white friend.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. And that concludes our 2-part episode with Dr. Davena Longshore with the Cummings Foundation for Behavioral Health and all of her incredible insights into our first responders. Stay tuned for more from Healthy, Happy, Wise, Wealthy with new episodes coming every Thursday.